This is our sustainable tourism video, and I'm Caroline.
I'm Melanie.
All right, let's get
The
started.
first question is, how does this content relate to sustainability? And we kind of wanted to go through each video at a time and talk about its relevance. In the first video, placemaking, I really liked the quote where they said that cities after World War II are being built to accommodate cars instead of people. And he really emphasizes that the most important part of a place and the vibrance of it is how you socialize with each other and how you can walk to your favorite venues instead of it being a hassle to park and drive in most of these cities. And I mean, that like drives the economy by promoting a place that people want to be and can experience the culture instead of Ubering everywhere, you know. I think that's one of the main draws of making a place and one of the most important parts of his video.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, like, it's obviously not sustainable to have, like, a empty car-dependent place with no investments. And we need to, like, push the focus onto art and culture because that's authentic and dynamic and sustainable. And then he also said at the end, this can be our last point on placemaking if we want, but he said at the end that yes, like when there's an influx of artists and demand increases, that rent can raise and that can cause gentrification, of course. But if you you have to increase ownership, so there's ways to make this like really sustainable. So it's all about the sustainability of a city is basically what placemaking is.
No, exactly. I think that's the most important part is you can't like pretend to keep a culture that you're then driving out. And I mean, that's one of the most important parts of like putting people like that in power of planning these cities is making sure that they want to sustain the locals that live there, even when they might not afford it in the future, you know?
Yes.
Or to grow economically through the thriving that like tourism brings, you know?
Yeah, bring the outside dollars in. That's what I remember him saying.
Right. And then the next video was animal tourism. Mm-hmm. Is there something you want to say on
that? That's basically, of course, sustainability in the form of like animal welfare, excuse me. So like the 3 pillars: profit, people, planet. Just like you wanted to always directly work with animals, and you're trying to keep like the areas that have these animals like stay sustainable, I guess, like wildlife rescue centers, animal sanctuaries, animal welfare. You're trying to like help keep those places afloat and like continue on. I don't know, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think it's important. In that video I really liked that she made sure to mention that it's not enough that the animals are alive and creating money and like supporting the humans. It's that the animals are happy. And I think that also affects like the vibe that of the tourists that come in and like how much they respect the actual city that they're visiting. I can see how a lot of these like tourist locations, they'll use their animals to make money by like in unethical ways because they care more about the money. Like the money is being prioritized in these situations, which is important to note that people need money to survive. But it was really cool, like the way her program and her research, like sustained the economic side of things while also like taking care of these animals and making them happier. It was just like a win-win all around.
And of course, like make the projects they're doing replicable. Mm-hmm. I can't even think of the word. But so that when they leave, the problem can still be fixed.
Yes.
So
that's the most sustainable part is that when the volunteers leave, like it wasn't reliant on them. Like,
with like local leaders, so they're not like coming in and taking charge. They're working, well, obviously consent-based tourism, like we said. So that it can continue on with local leaders.
Our third video was the interpretation video. I really liked this video a lot. Too. I think that this is one of the most overlooked forms of sustainability, and that you can visit a place and see the aquarium, see the state parks, and I mean, she talked a lot about state parks in this video, right?
Yeah.
You can see it, but you need to leave with a new perspective change or like a new purpose, and then part of sustainability is that those tourists take it and then they spread it to like where they go home to and other places that they tour, you know.
They you want to make them appreciate where they are and then take the message home and actually think about what they did and where they were, and not just kind of like have it an afterthought, make it be like something that they always remember.
Right.
What did you mention about like the people go to the beach kind of
They
go to Myrtle Beach just to
no, I thought that was actually like the most resonating part of that video was that I had no idea that Myrtle Beach was a endangered or was a nesting habitat for endangered sea turtles, because people treat it like trash. Like those tours can be the difference in people going to Myrtle Beach for the purpose of disrespecting it, or once they find this knowledge and they learn about it, you know, maybe they'll be more respectful of using these beaches and, you know, not littering, not doing crazy things there. You know, it's still a habitat at all. Like it's very important to recognize that it's still a beach that animals live on and interact with, even though it's a crazy space, you know.
Yeah. And then with agro-tourism and food justice with Leah Joyner, agro-tourism, of course, is sustainable because they're going to meet that farmer in person, make a strong connection, and attach value. So then that tourist will want the land to stay protected because of like the personal experience they had. And then basically like sustainable tourism itself like is the pathway to food justice. And then because it's addressing like the food inequalities and I guess spreading knowledge, like specifically with Salt Lake, I guess, in that instance when they needed to take the time to figure out that the CSA was not appropriate because small quantities were not what those people needed. And then once they figured that out, they were able to like fix the problem.
No, exactly. I feel like that's one of the most like effective things of that program. But I mean, even outside of the personal connection and like the message, it like even just like the type of this program, it gives new industries, like there's many jobs in new industries because of programs like this. Like people, I think one of the examples was like a farming family. If one of the people in the family wanted to get into marketing or hospitality or something like that, these programs where you go and you like see the actual farm and create that personal connection with it, there's so much more opportunity for those farmers to make money, spread their message, and you know, like create new jobs.
Yeah, meet new people.
Yeah, and
help out like a community and keep it thriving and sustainable. And then
our next video was the bullfighting video, and I think that video, what really resonated with me the most is that like humans really do think that they are superior to every other animal, even each other, and like this doesn't really relate to sustainability, but like that mindset is just now starting to change, where we had slavery less than 100 years ago, and I mean, thank goodness that it's not still happening, but the term zoo slavery was used in that video, and I think that's really important to note that any kind of dominance over an animal is zoo slavery. Like making animals work at all like they don't even know the concept of work like that is slavery too. And I think we're just like beginning to recognize that. And so I mean, obviously bullfighting is unsustainable, but there is so many other ways to attract tourists with this kind of cultural thing, even if it's not like it wasn't even directly related to the culture.
Yeah, it was like made into an attraction to boost tourism to Mexico City. So it really wasn't a big, he said it wasn't like a tradition, I guess. It really wasn't. Yeah,
the message that people are trying to get there when they go to something like bullfighting is that cultural experience that is really just it's fake. You know, you're getting the cultural experience of the colonizers that also just want to make money off of you. You know, it's like it's this full circle thing.
Yeah. And if it's not ethical, it's like a question. It's not even. It's questionable if it's sustainable at all. So like that goes hand in hand. And then, as well as animal tourism, it's not, if it's not an ethical part of animal tourism, it's not sustainable. You have to have like ethics to be sustainable.
Right. So I think my favorite like quote from that video was it was he, when he was mentioning the philosophers and like their main ideals, was humans and animals all have the same interest: to preserve life, not to suffer, and not to suffer pain. And I mean, we're just exactly with the slavery thing. Like, it's all, like we think that we're just now starting to believe that we all have a collective pursuit of happiness. You know.
Yeah.
And there are ways for all of us to be happy and not greedy. You know. So I think that video was really interesting, just highlighting like all of the unsustainable ways.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
So our next video was the video on rural tourism and the Uplift program. I think, but the most sustainable part of that was creating a story based on the region that you are looking to develop, and it's not about this one tourist destination. That maybe there are tourists that go there, but putting yourself in the shoes of a tourist and creating a story around this destination, and I think he said like creating multiple tourist spots, making them stay for longer, bringing those outside dollars in.
Yeah, it's kind of like placemaking and animal tourism. Well, more like animal tourism. Like, you're not going there and being a leader and like managing them. You're figuring out how to make like a local impact so that whenever you leave, like it keeps like it's sustainable, so that there is like you're doing good things that are going to continue, and they will thrive on their own without you. So
I think these programs, like where the destination actually is searching for your help and wants your help, instead of these like superior high horse people thinking that they have all this knowledge to change a place when they don't want to be changed. I think, what I thought was the best part of that video was how he would survey the people. He would survey the people in these towns and cities that might have otherwise not thought that they had a say in where the story of their town goes, but really giving them that opportunity to participate in art that represents their city, or like these different attractions that they feel like represents them, that they want to share with the world, you know. I think that spread of knowledge is like the most sustainable part of that, because it's really like I think the goal of tourism, whether you're a tourist or participating in it, like other ways, is to get that collective mindset, that like idea of limerence, where it's like you're not alone, you know, and we're all bonded over these different experiences, you know, like just like everybody's looking for their perspective to be changed. And I think making these like boring small towns and stuff into something that has a message, something that will change your perspective, that'll get tourists anywhere, you know.
A lasting impact is more important than anything else. And then I think we were going to look into what we personally thought was kind of like the most important impact. Is that sound?
Yeah, you can go ahead with the most important.
I feel like we were kind of talking about this, and you know, they all are like really important, but placemaking kind of, it's the place, and then all these things are occurring in these places. So it's like you start with the place, and so like placemaking, it can have like such a big effect. Like he of course talked about how after World War II, like it, all of this like poor placemaking happened for 50 to 70 years. So now like people of color are pushed out, and there's redlining occurring, and then the Great Migration happened. Now there's like nothing left, and you have to kind of start back in like all these communities, and that's huge. And like, you know, we know really well because it's happening, like the examples he provided are like in America. And I don't know, I think that just like overarches like all of this kind of.
No, I feel like placemaking is really the one thing that can relate to every place on Earth. It does not matter what the habitat or economic state is. It doesn't matter if there's a huge bad story or no story at all. Like there's a place that can be made out of it. Like change is always possible.
Yeah. And sorry, I guess like when he said like a place is just any space that's meaningful to a human being, that's like anywhere. So then if you think about anywhere you've ever visited, or like we live in Boone now, and I can think of so many ways that the examples he talked about are like a huge part of the town here, and how they've been able to improve. And I don't know, I think it's a pretty big part of tourism. I think it's like it goes hand in hand with tourism, and then tourism of course is part of almost everything.
So. No, I think placemaking is definitely one of those one of those things about tourism that affects the locals more than it does the tourists, because creating a place where it is meaningful to a tourist, it will be meaningful to the locals. You know, like if the locals love it, well, I mean, the locals have a huge part in any form of tourism. You know, so making a place where they can be happy and a place that is vibrant. Yeah, I would say that that's definitely the most important in any type of destination. And then we were gonna say like the second most important. I definitely think that it would be interpretation, because I think it's one of the most overlooked parts of tourism. But creating that meaningful message, it's similar to placemaking actually.
Yeah, I feel like it's what comes after you make the creative, or you do creative placemaking. Then you have to make sure that the tourists are in like understanding the meaningful experience that you've created. So like if someone goes on an art walk, are they just like going to the bars, and are you noticing like your tourists are just like getting blackout drunk, or are they actually like going and looking at the art and
exactly,
like, I guess posting about it or sharing like that they were inspired in a way. So I feel like they go together. Yeah,
like are they getting the message?
Yeah.
No, and I think too that barrier of communication of like, how do I put this place into something that can be marketed, something that can be shared on Instagram, like creating that that connection between even like her talking about her sea turtle journey. And I mean, like, even I think at Holden Beach when I was like 5, I went to the it was like a sea turtle talk where they come in and they tell you, they're like, if you see these nets on the beach, like don't touch them. And it was very entertaining, and they brought like I think even in the video she said there was like a model turtle egg. It's a way to get people to pay attention, and I think that's one of the hardest things to do in tourism, is getting people's attention in the right ways for the right things, you know.
I've definitely had similar experiences like that, like going to nature or interpretive center. I literally went to interpretive center, like Kaka Interpretive Center in Charleston, but like those experiences stay with you more than I feel like the times we just went shopping around the beach. I couldn't tell you what we did there, but I could tell you exactly what we did at the interpretive center. So
exactly,
that's proof.
Exactly, and it's almost like it's. I don't know if this is the right connection, but it's similar to like how in the bullfighting video they talked about how they were advertising bullfighting on these travel websites and as a cultural experience, as like something that you should do when you travel these places. And I mean, it is sort of that changing it into something that can be marketed and shown to the world. I mean, that's a bad example because we don't want bullfighting to continue because of how unsustainable it is. But no, I think it's really important for interpretation to be meaningful, and like there's so much good and bad you can do with it.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
Did you want to move on to the third question?
Yeah. Was it?
The third question is.
My mind's blanked.
Which types of sustainability do you feel are the easiest to achieve and why? What real challenges are there to achieving the element of sustainable tourism that the speaker described? I would say, I mean, I know we're talking a lot about placemaking, but I think creative placemaking is the easiest to achieve because we also talked about this earlier, was that that the story and the foundation is already there and it's built. You just need to go and find it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to, like what John Del Conte had said in the video about like the history he discovered in the leaders and like the, like Jane Jacobs, like that. The things that they have found was probably not easy at all because they've had to realize the damage that's been done, but once you figure out, I feel like what needs to be fixed,
the plan is already there for you.
Yeah, like I think you can look into and there's already so many people like locals that can help you because there already are probably local artists. Like here, if you needed to find someone to perform at the farmer's market, like I feel like there's so many
locals that would want to get involved.
Yeah, especially in
telling their story.
Like it's not like easy, but if you know where to look and you're working with locals, it can happen in front of you. Like it just keeps going like a tumbleweed. It could happen pretty.
Like of course there's challenges of like you have to find the story, you have to put in the work, but there's definitely harder thing. I feel like I mean even animal tourism I would say is like one of the hardest just because you have to change a mindset of like an entire like generation, I guess. But no, I feel like placemaking, it's definitely a happier feel, and it's more giving. It's about giving people opportunities to have a voice in their own community, and instead of working to change, working to change bad things,
Yeah, I understand.
What would you say like the second easiest would be?
We're thinking of like easiest to accomplish, right? So I guess
to achieve, yeah.
To achieve, I guess again interpretation is kind of the same thing because it's not easy to achieve, so maybe I would scratch that.
Well, there's gonna be challenges with them all.
Yeah, it's not easy to achieve because you're asking someone who is, trying to like take a mental break, and especially like in today's age when it's really easy to kind of like detach and like just not check up on the news in a way. It's not like part of our generation's like every day, but at the same time it's not. I don't know. It can be either, but I guess I would say like with interpretation it is definitely easy to achieve with young children, like school trips she was talking about. With education, I feel like they have not been molded yet, and like we were both saying, the experiences we had stayed with us because we were like young and impressionable, and I feel like
we
that's
took the
pretty
message
easy to achieve. Like you kind of just like, for me, I remember there was like a python snake this guy was holding, and he was talking about how it was endangered, and I thought that was cool, and so I was able to remember you kind of have to like make something seem cool to these kids or these impressionable minds who are like coming to your national park.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a little bit easier to achieve than food justice or animal tourism or uplift, which takes a lot of work and effort.
I also think with interpretation, it's easier because the message is already there.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, figuring out how to get people, how to market it, how to get people to come and listen to what you have to say. But you know, I don't think it would be hard to put your message that you've been working for, whether it be protecting sea turtles or like informing people about the wildlife in a state park. You know, you already have all the knowledge right there. You just need to put it in a way that other people can interpret it.
Yeah. Would you like to move on to what we would choose to devote our lives to?
Yeah.
Okay, I can go first. I think this is hard because I like placemaking. I think that's clear that was our favorite. But I think I would devote, if I could, to animal-based volunteer tourism, the AEI.
That was super cool.
I feel like there's so many cool experiences you can have doing that, and obviously it is really heavy to see all the wrongdoings that are happening to animals, but I feel like ever since I like was a kid, I always thought like I would want to be a veterinarian or do something like that, but it just seemed something really far, and I also get squeamish, so I couldn't do it. But this would be a way to do that, feel good about yourself, and know you're making an impact, and you get to see all these animals in their habitats and travel, and
in a place where they like want and need.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of being like a citizen scientist, like doing, like helping out like an actual researcher, like collecting data. I think she was talking about like the giraffes, like you're observing them and seeing how many of them are there that day, and like that sounds awesome. Like I would love to just watch giraffes, and I like animals like that. Like it's crazy whenever you see like giraffes like in their habitat, or like even in a zoo, like going to zoos when you're younger, they just like are huge, graceful animals. So it's a cool. I would devote my life to that if I could.
No, I think that's like, that program was so great to like really like check all the boxes on sustainability of like you know, solving the issues of normal like missionary tourism and things like that, where you're not necessarily wanted or creating like positive footprint, you know. I think that program was like highlighted like the perfect way to volunteer in those ways.
Yeah, and authentic, I guess.
I don't know. I think like I don't know, the one that resonated with me the most was definitely interpretation. And honestly, just what shocked me the most was that Myrtle Beach is a habitat for nesting sea turtles. I have seen people do heinous things at Myrtle Beach, and I can't believe that is not a more widely known thing. Like that's something that's actually going to stick with me. Like whenever I hear my friends are going back there, I'll be like, hey, like just so you know, like
yeah.
And I mean, it's one thing to like keep those sea turtles safe in a place like that. Like I bet bad things happen all the time. And I bet those rangers have a lot harder job to face than maybe like Wrightsville Beach, Wilmington, where it's like typically richer and like more adults live there, more reasonable adults than these college kids in Myrtle Beach and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I think finding ways of turning like nature tourism into like ways to communicate your message is I don't know, that resonated with me the most is what I will say, and what I think I could devote my life to out of all of them. But, yeah,
I think that's all
I think
we
that's
have to share. Thank
Thank
you.